Challenger!
Hey, Frog Prince Runner here, and thank you for dropping by. Well, out of all the prolific stupid flat earthers out there, Daniel Prett would be quite high up on the list, just ahead of Level Earth Observer. Well, most of Daniel's claims, yes Daniel, those are positive claims, are just plain dumb. So instead of one video per claim, I thought it would be easier to address several of his clips in one go. And as Daniel do watch my videos, well, he at least watched one, this is a message for him. Daniel, yes, I know how you value sub and view count. If I'm very lucky, this video might even get 100 views over a week. But to me, it does not matter. I'm hoping you would find it worthwhile to actually address my points with a valid rebuttal. Here is me hoping.
I know when there's factual science that I'm discussing that can be performed.
Wait, I have to check what factual science means. Do forgive me and my lack of understanding of English language. Something that is factual is concerned with facts or contains facts, rather than giving theories or personal interpretation. Now for science? Well, here is one of my favorite YouTube content creator explaining it much better than I ever could.
Science doesn't prove things. It never said it does. It gives us the best current understanding of the world around us based on evidence.
To further add to it, scientific researchers propose hypotheses as explanations of phenomena and design experimental studies to test these hypotheses. These steps must be repeatable in order to predict dependably any future results. Well, I'm still confused with factual science. Moving on.
And I have my primitive ways of showing the videos or providing links so people can see it for themselves.
Well, maybe the first true thing Daniel ever uttered. Primitive indeed.
It's imperative to people understanding what is going on. Because truly, what is happening with this entire COVID pandemic?
Well, I have a friend who first blamed coronavirus on 5G. When I pointed out countries without 5G, then he moved to drug needles. Then I had to mention all the poor people in third world countries. That is when he shut up. But lot like Daniel keeps on going. UK bought and started to distribute vaccine. FDA and US approved vaccines as well. Millions of people have died from the virus. Even last week, on 9th of December, US had reached another milestone of highest single-day death count of 3,157. And yet, to these morons, it is still a pandemic. In all honesty, I don't hate flat earthers, but I do hate the virus deniers and anti-vaxxers. Maybe more than anything else.
When I focus on these trolls and focus on how every video they do, there is one guarantee I can make you. They will provide absolutely zero, nada, zip, zilch, nothing based in scientific method-based evidence for their globe.
Can there be another possibility? I know that it might just be improbable, but maybe, just maybe, that you don't understand scientific method-based evidence we provide? You start with the presumption that the globe doesn't exist. That is why perhaps you reject all the evidence. Now, to be honest, there are some experiments we do starting with a known fact, like Eratosthenes measuring the Earth's circumference back in 240 BC. He knew from other observations that Earth is indeed a globe. We'll talk about all those points later on this video.
Mockingbird Media treats things like the COVID pandemic, like 9/11, like everything else.
And you're a 9/11 denier. Why does that not surprise me?
And every single solitary one of them, last one of them, you go to them, what you will not find is any scientific method-based evidence disproving the globe. You will find a bunch of emotional propaganda designed to sway followers.
Coming from a man whose videos are always emotional cry out with zero proof? Pot calling kettle, come in kettle.
In order for the Earth to do a full revolution in one day, anyone that is competent in basic math can figure out that in order for a point on the globe to do a full rotation in one day, that equator has to be moving at over 1,000 miles per hour. It's simple math.
Well, you meant to say a point on the equator. We'll get to that later on.
And how absurd it is that people think the equator is moving at that speed and nobody notices and nothing is affected.
Oh, I know the answer. We feel acceleration and not constant speed. One easy example I can think of would be an aircraft. When it is lifting off or landing, it is either accelerating or decelerating. But once at a cruising altitude, it tries to keep a constant speed. Thus, we don't feel the speed anymore.
Well, in a way, it's a fallacy. They want to play little mind games with you and make you think that 1,000 miles an hour isn't really 1,000 miles an hour. It's 15 degrees per hour. If you were in a car on the equator, and let's make believe, pretend for a minute that there's land mass all the way around the equator, all the way around the Earth, so you don't have to worry about water or anything. You can just drive in a straight line all the way around the Earth. How fast would you have to go?
Oh, Daniel, you're almost there. Okay, let's go with your card analogy. I'm a globetrot and okay with your setup. Now, I live in Leeds. Let's make believe pretend for a minute that there is a landmass all the way around and we don't have to worry about water, can drive a straight line. So the first thing I need to know is, what is the distance I need to cover? Being a simpleton, I would use an easy method. Just to confuse you guys, I will use kilometer. Equatorial circumference of Earth is about 40,075 km. And the radius is, well, equatorial radius is 6,378 km, but polar radius is 6,357 km. We normally use the value of 6,371 km. So let's go with that. Leeds is at 53.8008 degree north. So to figure out how much I have to travel, I would first find out what is the radius of a circle in Leeds that is running parallel to latitude. You can see a simple diagram showing what I mean. I have two right angle triangles. Yes, I do love them. The radius is O. We have hypotenuse, which is same as Earth's radius. From my location, we know that it makes 53.8008 degree angle to center and equator. So the angle between me and the pole would be 90 degree minus my latitude. That would be 36.1992 degree. That is our adjacent angle. So kata once again, and we have sine of adjacent angle equals to opposite divided by hypotenuse. This opposite is our O value. So rewriting and plugging in all the values gives us O equal to 3762.677 kilometers. Finally, we get the distance by 2 pi r, and that is 23,641.59 kilometers. So at equator, we have 40,075 kilometers in 24 hours, or 1,669.79 kilometers per hour, where in Leeds, that becomes 985.06 kilometers per hour. By the way, the easiest way to do it perhaps would be to use Google Earth, but I just wanted to show a way using math. Daniel, do you see how the value changes depending where we are located? And not only at the poles. But guess what? A point at equator rotates at 15 degrees per hour, and surprisingly, so does Leeds. Thus, it is accurate to measure it as revolution over time or angular velocity, and inaccurate to use linear speed. As we just saw that it would be different based on your location. Damn, you are stupid. Even generalism gets it. We use angular velocity because we are rotating. We are not going on a straight line where we would use linear speed. Hope that clears it up for you, Daniel.
Let's say that clock hand is going, just for an example, 1 mile per hour. So these globe proponents want you to believe if you get on the equator and drive 1 mile per hour, you can make it all the way around Earth in a day.
I do hope nobody says that. Now I can't affirm it, as us globe proponents are not infallible, and I can't possibly speak for all. But I'm pretty sure you're using strawman fallacy here. Fallacy!
The lies you're selling to other people and making money off of it. That's what makes you one of the lowest life forms on this earth.
Well, one of us is indeed lying, and I'm pretty sure it is you. But then again, is it lying if you believe in your lies? Let me check. Yes, it is.
My stance is we are on a stationary, fixed earth. And all I have to do to prove that is to stand up and hop. And I get the exact results I would expect to get by physics when jumping on a stationary platform. I land right where I jumped from. Now, were the Earth moving where I am at approximately 500 miles per hour in a 360-degree rotation, that would be physically impossible by every physical demonstration we can see performed on this Earth.
Well, thanks to Sam and Dan for bringing this clip to our attention. I'm not sure about the original source, so if anybody knows, I would love to credit the source in description.
It's called physics. It's easy for anybody that really knows anything about physics to figure it out.
Yes, I do agree, and it is not you.
My stance is we are on a stationary, fixed Earth. So I'm sorry, little globe monkeys. I'm not going to do the science for you to try and prove your asinine, absurd claims.
We are on a stationary fixed Earth. Well, you made a positive claim, and thus, the burden of proof is on you. For over 2000 years, we know about the shape of the Earth. Let's see. Lunar eclipse, when you see the shadow of Earth, there is only one shape that creates a round shadow, regardless where the light source is. And that shape is a sphere. We have scenario where we see ships disappearing from bottom up. No, there is no magical diffraction that would do that. On a flat Earth, without obstructions, the ground itself would never obscure distant object. One would be able to see all the way to the edge of the world. The moon's tidal lock to Earth results in the moon always showing only one side to Earth. Again, if Earth was flat, we would see different sides of moon depending on our location. Then we have observations of certain fixed stars from different locations, such as Polaris and Southern Cross. Constellations are north and south hemispheres at different seasons. The list is truly endless. Well, maybe not. I didn't even mention photographs. We all know how you guys feel about composite or non-composite photo when it doesn't meet your requirement. These are all our proof, and we satisfy burden of proof. So either you can debunk it, or when you make a positive claim, you prove it.
You clowns will slander, attack, stalk, and harass.
Slander, attack, stalk, and harass? Wait, aren't you the guy who called Irish demon the P word? Pot calling kettle, come in kettle.
Why do you suppose it is when flat earthers do a video saying, hey, here's an idea. Why don't you put a drone on a moving walkway, that's comparable with the floor actually moving, like you claim the earth right beneath our feet, aka the floor, moves. And all we ever get is stories and fantastical scenarios about planes, trains, and automobiles.
Well, here is a video from Non-Stop Filmer showing the same. Now most drone comes with various stabilizations, GPS and such, but Non-Stop Filmer did address all of those. So Daniel, does this satisfy your requirement? To be honest, I'm not sure if I understood what Daniel is getting at. Well, unlike Scotty Storm, I can actually understand each word, but overall, it makes no sense to me.
So I was in the comments section trolling the latest Triggered Globe ballrider to say my name this morning, and it seems the common comeback with the sock accounts of whichever plebe.
Well, as Daniel didn't show any comments, I can't really comment, but I do find it rich coming from him. Daniel, you have your own sock account reshaping our world. You even comment in your own video from your sock account and then reply to it. Pot calling kettle, come in kettle.
He once again totally avoids that and just doubles down with the same shit I just debunked yesterday.
Ah, did you now? Are you sure you know what that word means? Well, I just covered your yesterday video. And well, you are wrong. You didn't debunk anything. Earth is moving with everything in it, including the atmosphere. Conservation of momentum, that is the reason if you jump in a moving train or a plane or an automobile, you land back in the same place. We don't feel anything because of constant speed. The only thing one may complain about is the centrifugal force. Well, that has been already explained many times. If I can find it, I will link a video by Professor Stick. Maybe a frog can't explain it to you, but a stickman surely can. I saved the best for the end, so here goes.
Because I say things like face masks are fucking useless and they are propaganda, mind game, programming, and mockery, I get censored by YouTube and stuffed in the electronic internet corner. As we have here again, yet another study saying exactly that. Face masks are useless. So, a big fuck you and repent, you demons, to everybody denying this and attacking those, pointing out this basic scientific fact. Eat crow.
Daniel, you're a dumbass. Do you even know how to read? Freaking moron. Before looking at the study, I will use the same page Daniel used for his claim. It reads, landmark Danish study finds no significant effect for face mask wearers. Wait a minute. All these times, we always said mask is there to catch your filthy mouth spew, i.e., droplets that might contain the virus. It is never about the mask wearers, but others. I know, Daniel, that it is a big step for you to think about others. But hey, you live in a society and reap all its benefit. Maybe you should contribute to set society for a change. Now, to properly go through the study itself would be a long video. I have added several links in description where you can find out more. Here I will just give a brief summary. The headline on the article was originally, landmark Danish study shows face masks have no significant effect. This was subsequently changed following criticism to, landmark Danish study finds no significant effect for face mask wearers. This distinction is important. It was a 4,800 person randomized trial that took part in the spring and early summer in Denmark. It told participants to practice social distancing and randomly assigned them with the advice to wear a mask or give them no advice to wear mask. and followed them to see how many acquired SARS-CoV-2 by PCR or antibody testing. The answer was a nearly identical proportion, 1.8% in the mask group and 2.1% in the no mask group. The difference was not statistically significant. The trial was powered to test his hypothesis of a 50% reduction in SARS-CoV-2 from mask wearing and failed to show that hypothesis. Professor James Naismith of the Rosalind Franklin Institute and University of Oxford told the Science Media Center, the credible interval of their data ranged from an increase of 23% to a reduction of 46% of infection to the mask wearer. It concludes wearing a mask does not cut the infection rate of mask wearer by 50%. I would have been stunned if it had. In the original framing of the Spectator article, missed out a key piece of context, one which the authors of the study themselves acknowledged. Because the study only looked at rates of infection among mask wearers, it only looked at half of the issue around transmission. UK government advice on face covering says that face covering are mainly intended to protect others, not the wearer. The Danish study's author made it clear that their study did not look at the question, saying, the findings should not be used to conclude that a recommendation for everyone to wear masks in the community would not be effective in reducing SARS-CoV-2 infection, because the trial did not test the role of mask in source control of SARS-CoV-2 infection. So while the study shows that mask wearing does not cut your chance by catching COVID-19 in half, it doesn't tell us whether they may have a smaller protective effect on the wearer, and says nothing about whether they might prevent transmission to others. The paper's lead author, Dr. Henning Bundgaard of the Specialty Hospital Rigshospitalet and Copenhagen University Hospital, told Forbes much the same. Even a small degree of protection is worth using the face mask, he said, because you're protecting yourself against a potentially life-threatening disease. So takeaway from that, wearing a mask does not cut the chance down by 50% for the wearer. Once again, at least UK government never once mentioned any effect on the wearer. Just goes to show that it is important to read and understand what the purpose of the study is. Well, a long video, and Daniel still has a bunch of other dumbass videos that I might want to respond to. But anyway, Daniel, if you're hearing this, please stay away from medical stuff and go back to flat earth. At least it is not dangerous. And thank you, as I do get a lot of ideas from the crap you post for a certain series of mine. For the rest, if you have enjoyed this content, please leave a like, comment and maybe share it around. If you think it is worthwhile, I would sure appreciate you subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. Wherever you are, have a safe day. Signing off.
Try.